I need a motion to approve the minutes of the committee of the whole from the meeting of February 8th of 2021.
So
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll file them. We'll move public comment to the regular meeting. So our first presentation is from Kristen Sanders and Christian.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having us come present today. We just wanted to give the board an update as requested on our feeder athletic program guidelines and policies. So give you a little background and then I'll let Mr. Kennard talk about some things as well. So it doesn't seem like this long ago, but in fall of 2019, the parents of the Moline-Coal Swim Club made public comment and prompted the district response to look at some more details regarding our athletic feeder program. So Dr. Savage then requested a formal process be established for reviewing, accepting, and the dismissal of feeder programs. So we collaboratively worked to put together a committee and proceeded to tackle that problem. So just kind of as a refresher, the board policy 820 refers to the community use of school facilities, and this is some of the language about what it means to be a feeder program. Basically, the perk of being a feeder is that you get to utilize the building with without fees. And so basically it's looking at 3 different levels of community use that we have in that board policy, and feeder programs exist in category 1 of that. So a little summary of that. So 3 categories. Category 1 users gain preferential times and they do not have rental fees. The only language really referring to feeder programs in board policy is below, and it says youth sports groups composed of more than 75% of players attending Moline-Coal Valley Community Unit School District 40. For those programs which fall under similar Moline High School teams, i.e. feeder programs. It basically is in reference to them as category 1. Okay, so that's sort of where the administrative procedures of that board policy fall in line to define our feeder programs. So our committee took that information from administrative procedure and from board policy. We took the purpose that was established to us from Dr. Savage, and we began meeting. We held meetings on these dates, as you can see, with some subcommittee work on our rubric in between those times. This was the committee that was established, and as you can see, it is comprised of Mr. Kennard and I, as well as the head varsity coaches for any sports that we currently have feeder programs for. The exception to that would be soccer. They sort of have a feeder program, but they decline attendance. What you have that I gave you in paper format is this document, which is basically what the committee established as guidelines for our feeder programs and their practices. The committee basically collaboratively looked to see what's going to make an ideal program for progression up through the varsity level of competition and for developing enthusiasm for the various sports in our younger students. We finished that in January of 2020, and then it was provided to our feeder programs by Mr. Kennard in February of 2020. The other piece that we developed based on, on those program guidelines was this rubric. You also have a copy of that rubric in place. And I believe this was shared out with you in April of 2020 following our committee work. So this is just a replication of that document there, but hopefully something that's maybe a little more readable than what's on the screen. And basically, we paralleled this somewhat to our teacher evaluation system, I guess, where we have a 1 through 4 rating. And picked out the elements that are essential to positive programs for our students. We also established an evaluation cycle, which is actually on that first guidelines and principles document, so this is just taken from there, where all of our programs that currently have feeders are on a 3-year rotational evaluation cycle. And then Mr. Kennard took our goals and our I can't even speak tonight, the produced document, and he went ahead then and applied that to our athletic program. So I'm gonna let him talk about this slide, which is particularly as this program then applied in the evaluation applied to the Marlins.
Yeah, so when we determined what the rubric was gonna be, I had coaches all do a preliminary rubric, just get it to me, just preliminary ones, I want to see where they fell and what was going on. For the most part, there was no issue. The one issue, of course, was the Blue Marlins and the Piranhas, which is what they were at first. So last year when we had that situation that occurred where people were questioning it, I told the swim coach that right now we're going to let the Blue Marlins go through the year. The Piranhas, we're not going to treat them as a feeder. We're going to, they want to be a renter or something like that. They can do that, but right now we'd say it front. So afterwards, we then meet with the Blue Marlins. We had meetings, so we sent the rubric out. I had the coach do a rubric, sent it out to the Blue Marlins, and of course they were like, "Hey, we want to have time to meet and talk about this," and so we did. And we had a meeting, and it's the dates there. When we met, one of the things we talked about were these were some of the things that we need moving forward to continue as a feeder program. So there's a list of things that the coach provided. They would get back to us. I know initially it got back to us. One of them was, and you saw the rubric, 501c3, which they were. So that rating was changed according to that. Adding their point total together on the rubric, it was below the standard that you want to continue as a feeder program. So one of the things we talked about were, let's give them goals to achieve so we can get this to the point we want to get it to. And so I think we have one more meeting, and then I had some emails back and forth. The biggest thing was just waiting for the coach. He was going to give us some information, basically some of the documents that we asked for that the coach gave, and we didn't get it. A lot of it, I thought, well, it's just COVID or something like that. As it got along, we were going to go through feeder. I had a meeting and talked about opening up a low-risk feeder program because we were talking about opening up some middle school programs, things like that. And we said, okay, so I went to our coach and I was like, all right, we have to talk about the Blue Marlins, where are we at with that? And he's like, I don't know if they even are around anymore. I was like, well, let's look, So we went online, looked at some things. We had some old documents, nothing that was new. And then, so my thing was, as I need to know more. And so some of the things that the coach did for me was, where were their coaches? And we found that some of their coaches were now at different organizations. Some of the swimmers were at different organizations. And so I was like, okay, so I was satisfied that they weren't going to be able to meet the criteria. So we moved forward with the Piranhas. I had to do a rubric on the Piranhas, talked about it, that met criteria. So we then put that forward to the board to get dates available for them to swim. And that's kind of how this all went through the process. And it was one that I wanted to make sure that we were covering all the bases on those things. So that's why when we had a meeting, I wanted goals that were set directly given to the people from the Blue Marlins, and they were, and like I said, they responded to one of them, which was a 501c3. We hadn't heard, and then I was waiting for the coach, and we haven't heard anything from the coach. And even when I asked them, they said, well, we'll make sure that the coach gets back to you, and never did. And I believe he's now working at a different club. And so therefore, that's why that was the decision to move forward from them, following the rubric that we put together.
So So that's the info we have, but we would be happy to take any questions.
One just vague question. So do all the varsity coaches oversee the feeder programs? Do they participate, touch base with the people who are the coaches?
Yes.
Yes, so they're all
Mhm.
involved. And with the promise, did we meet the 75% criteria?
Yeah, 100%. Every person they have is a Moline person.
But that's because it's the Piranhas, I think, has different.
They're a big
subsets.
club, but the only people that be swimming in our pool for our feeder organization will be our kids.
That's what I was gonna ask. So you're basing the product percentage based off of who's swimming at the Moline-Coal, not about their organization?
No, their organization's huge. Yeah, no, it's just our, like for our volleyball, we're part of Platform Elite. Well, there's I don't know how many people in Platform Elite, but our kids that are at our facilities that are doing our feeder stuff, our Moline kids.
Like independent teams.
Right. In Quad City Rush, we have our Moline group of Quad City Rush. So we're not gonna have Quad City Rush people having soccer people playing that aren't from our organization.
Who makes the decision whether to accept feeder programs? Is that the head coach of each sport?
At this point, we use the rubric. So if a feeder program the only board standard is that 75% of the students are Moline students. So beyond that, it
I
would be
asked,
based on that rubric.
I asked because I noticed the soccer, they don't feed it. Whose decision was that? Is that like the coach, the varsity coach's decision?
Yeah, on the boys soccer,
The boys soccer.
because he wasn't happy, and this was before I came, he wasn't happy with the way it was Moline United at the time.
Yeah, it's more.
With the way they were doing things, because he wanted it to be done a certain way, and they weren't gonna do it, so he didn't associate with that organization anymore. That's my number one thing, is just as a former coach, a former guy who had a feeder program, I always would have the coach dictate, this is what we want. So take my realm on basketball. So if I say my feeder organization, we're a team that plays man-to-man defense, and they say, no, we want to play zone, well, that's not acceptable. You're going to do things directed the way you want to have them directed. And what the rubric does is basically what we had done before is just in writing now, and you can see it, there's a little bit more of a rating to it when they do those things. And that's, I think, the crux of this is we hadn't had a situation like this before, but now in having this process, it makes it a lot easier to determine what's happening. But most of the time, it's not an issue at all.
Since this has all happened, has there been additional now feedback regarding anything you've become aware of regarding the Blue Marlins and their status?
The only thing I did is look online, looked at prior people like that, and there was nothing. Because like I said, when I was told that they weren't going to be around anymore, I was like, I just want to see that. I want to just see documentation of it, because I won't know that unless I see it.
And your documentation of that, when you looked, was found
Online.
Did you
Is it
call
their
Illinois
website?
Swimming?
No, well, there was a Blue Marlins, but
what documentation did you find?
I found that the board members, kids were swimming for other organizations. Or the coaches that were the coaches for Blue Marlins are now coaching for different organizations. And the website that I had was an older website, and I tried to find the new one that was on. I went to USA Swimming, they're not registered on USA Swimming. So those were the things that I wanted to see to make sure that that was the case.
See, people had relocated, but no documentation that they had disbanded.
Well, they're
I
not,
found for documentation they had disbanded.
there's no
I just
USA,
understand.
there's no USA Swimming. They're not registered on USA Swimming. If you're a club, you'd be registered on USA Swimming, get a 25-mile radius around here, and they're not registered on USA Swimming.
Any other questions? Comments? Questions?
Yeah.
I do have one. I have that.
Go ahead, and then,
But then I'll
yes,
turn it over to
we're
you.
gonna settle.
This policy is an interesting policy. that you referred to. Because the case can be made that there are this many students that are gonna benefit in a sense from whatever group is there, right? That's the goal. I'm not sure the taxpayers who fund the school district want out-of-town clubs getting facility use for free. And still their own students having to pay their participation fees like we do for clubs. I think it's an odd situation that isn't able to be remedied at the moment because we have the policy we have. But I just want to point out that if one of the benefits of being a feeder program is that you get facility use for free, then we probably need to be way more specific about the geography that qualifies for that, because we're letting an out-of-town, out-of-state, we would be letting an out-of-town, out-of-state organization get our facility for free.
I think you're gonna find that that's true in multiple sports.
Okay, it's an observation, and I just wanted to point it out for future.
The reason the feeder thing started, I started that, is we were renting to people, and so we want to get a hierarchy of who gets the facilities. So it started with, it would be in-season varsity, in-season lower levels, then it'd be out-of-season varsity, out-of-season lower levels. And then it was the renters, but we wanted our feeder organizations to be ahead of that before renters came in. So what we did is I went around to who are your feeder organizations? And they gave them to me with the contact information on whoever that was. So that's what we took with it. And so we never had any qualms with other people other than the soccer one, but that was before I even got there. So he hadn't even had one. So that was why we had a dictation of what a feeder organization would be, who would get that. So they would get the slot because it was our kids. Like for me, when it said 75%, I just told our coaches, I don't want to be training Rock Island's kid. I want our kids to be trained by our people. So when Platform Elite, which is our feeder program is part of that for volleyball, our kids that are at Coolidge or wherever they are Moline students. And that's the thing, it hasn't always been that way before because they say, oh, we're a feeder organization, but we have kids that are swimming or with kids that are playing basketball that are from different districts. And my thing is if you're gonna be a feeder organization and you're using our facilities, they're gonna be our kids. So that's how the feeder thing
That's
started.
absolutely admirable, I understand.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So if they play for whomever, Platform Elite or whoever, when they go back and play for their club team, or whatever you want to call it, are they playing together? Or are they split up and playing with kids from all over?
I can answer at least in regards to the Platform Elite piece. So Platform Elite has a series of specific teams for volleyball, because there's only like 10 kids on the team. But Moline Juniors volleyball is exclusively Moline kids.
Okay,
So there are other Platform Elite teams
right.
that may have some Moline kids on them that play, like the 16 Adidas team has Moline kids on it. But that's not our field. They don't practice in our facilities.
Okay,
They don't-
that's, yeah.
They're more our elite players, our elite athletes that do club because of the fact that they get seen and recruited for college. Feeder is more, we're getting games for kids, getting them to compete against other feeder organizations.
So I know that part of the conversation last year, whenever the heck, so long ago, when I initially got the, regarding the role of the coach versus the feeder team. And just the discussion of should feeder teams change based off of, and I understand coaching philosophy and wanting that to carry down, but following a coach, because if a coach coached at one feeder thing and then switched to another, does that obligate us to move that? Which
No.
I don't think it does, but in this case, how many of our coaches then also coach? Because it's my understanding that the head coach right now for swimming also coaches then with the cross. Do majority of our other head coaches actively coach in the feeder programs that are part of it, or they just have relationships with them?
Well,
I think
Platform
that's
Elite,
what-
our coaches in Platform Elite for elite
Okay.
teams.
Okay, I didn't know how often it happened, because I think that was in those conversations, part of, I think, the uncomfortableness last time was that just because there was a movement of a person, do our entire process procedures change because of that? Because yes, there's the coaching philosophy, but there's also just a general athleticism and conduct and sportsmanship and all those things that are, I think, far more important than some of the maybe coaching philosophy. That's my own take on things,
Yeah.
but you know, as long as the organization is following those, does it need to switch? And I think that causes a little bit of friction for me with this one because of how that happened.
And there are different sports, there's different ways of things, like boys and girls basketball, football, those are feeder because they're not run by some club. You know, there's not the quarterback club of Quad Cities, and then a branch of that is our MJFL or whatever, you know. And for basketball, it's the same thing, although there's AAU, but AAU is in a different season than our feeder is, whereas in swimming, volleyball, things like that, their club and their feeder season are simultaneous in a lot of cases, and so that's where it's a situation. My biggest thing is this, I understand that there are different sets for different things. I've just explained to our coaches that my number one goal in a feeder organization is we are training Moline high school athletes when they get to us. We had a situation before where I had to talk with our current coach who worked with the Blue Marlins, and there was a girl who won 4 events, almost single-handedly beat us from Rock Island, and she was swimming with the Blue Marlins. And I told him, I said, we're done with that. I don't want that anymore. I'm not gonna train someone else's kid. They can go do feeder somewhere else. And so that's been my big crux is, I know it says 75%. I'm just telling my coaches, I don't want to train anyone else but our kids. If they're going to use our facilities, there are young kids that are on their way towards these facilities.
Okay, this one, so on June 10th, board president of Blue Marlins and Micro TV sat down and went over this report.
Mhm.
It was given to them.
Mhm.
Then, so they knew of it, they were given it, and then you never heard anything yet.
No. We met, and then we actually brought criteria to have another meeting, and then
Okay,
we emails started after that.
okay.
So we were, and our thing was the coach was going to get us some of the information of things that we asked for. Like every coach has to be certified, and there was a list of things that we did. And the first one that was done was the 501c3 that was done right away. So that grade on the.
information was given to them.
Hmm?
The information
Yeah.
was given.
And
Absolutely.
a list of deficiencies.
Mhm.
Okay.
Before I turn things to
I'm-
Justin, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were doing more.
So previous concern has been from our last meeting is that they were not given this rubric. This, I feel like that should be checked off. There was a meeting, they were given the rubric. So I think that discrepancy is.
Mr. Kennard, I want to clarify your statement about not training other students through our club system from other districts. I think it's unfortunate if our goal is only to win and you don't like the fact that someone from another district beat some of our students. There are a lot of reasons students don't swim or don't participate in the club feeder program associated with their school district. And there are half of that varsity swim team on the girls' side were trained outside of the Blue Marlins team before they joined Blue Marlins around high school.
Mhm.
They didn't start there.
Mhm.
They started in other clubs and those clubs were inclusive. And I would like to see Moline remain inclusive instead of exclusive. I think it's the wrong message to send to clubs who want to be healthy. Because sometimes you're not going to find interested swimmers in Moline. Sometimes you're going to find them from other cities. And those clubs have to be financially healthy as well in order to offer a great product or great coaching. So I would encourage you to rethink that attitude because I think it's too exclusive for a community like ours.
Well, and now what you remember is, I'm not saying that these kids should not be swimming with the Piranhas or with the Blue Marlins or with Lane 4 or whatever organization. They can. I have no problem with that whatsoever. If they don't feel it's better to swim at.
You said you didn't want kids from other schools in our feeder program. That's what you said.
Right.
So I can leave it there,
Mhm.
and I think that there's a problem with that philosophy. And it's exclusive, and it doesn't help our clubs financially. We should be open to whoever wants to be in a feeder program. Because there are a lot of different reasons people are in different feeder programs. So I don't need to go on about that. That is a different situation. I just wanted to clarify that as a major concern I have with the perspective being shared.
Right, briefly speak to Audrey's concern about switching feeder programs every time we switch a head coach. I think that's kind of what we're saying. And I think prior to having these guidelines in place and having the rubric in place, I think that was almost more of a concern than I hope it is now. Because now we have actual criteria and we have an evaluation cycle. So while the coach evaluating, and it's not just one coach, it's the head coach and then another head coach for different sport evaluating the program. During that evaluation process, the procedure is to sit down with that feeder program and review any areas of deficiency with the hopes of mitigating any problems that are there. So if there was a coaching block change, that would be kind of a formal meeting to engage in that discussion, to maintain that feeder. But to maintain it under the philosophies, and I would say not just the skill building, but also the character building that is essential to our programs at the high school, that both of those pieces are entwined in that evaluation cycle expressly for that purpose. So we don't have just somebody deciding I'm the head coach, we're done with that feeder, we're going with this one. We don't want that either. There's no consistency to a program in that.
I think Justin, you've been waiting to speak.
If everyone else is done for now. So instead of starting at the beginning of where I was planning to with lots of questions, we'll get to them. So we're going to settle in for a short while. I'll piggyback immediately right off of criteria and coaching philosophy and Audrey's question about changing feeder programs with coaches as they change. And we'll go back to our conversation we had 18 months to 20 months ago, where one of the biggest concerns of public comment, as you referred to, made by the Marlins, some of the parents or representatives, whoever they were at the time, what some of the public comment centered directly around an issue with the high school coach who was associated with the Iowa out-of-town Piranhas organization and a coaching philosophy, exactly what you just mentioned. And part of the coaching philosophy was the coach wanted more direct say-so all the way to the point of a vote in the board of the Piranhas. And through our conversations, we decided, we had a few, stretched over a few meetings. We decided to stick at that time with the Marlins. And then your email decided to let red space or whatever it was you referred to a few minutes ago, but we weren't going to add another feeder at the time. And the concern was that because the bowling coach had a direct relationship with the out-of-town Piranhas, this is in the viewpoint of back in July and August of 2019, and the strong arming felt of trying to wedge way into philosophy, coaching, and votes on the board of how the other organization would work, that it was directly being a vendetta against the Marlins at the time to strong arm them out and force in a way for an out of town or another feeder program to get time. And we were asked at that point to give them up to 50% of the pool time that was available to be given. Now, at that point, would have sacrificed our time offered and available to what was our recognized feeder program at that point. Again, another reason we decided not to make that change at that time. Well, some of the personal vendetta issues between the organizations and coach seems to have very much continued. Because this criteria to raise and meet deficiencies was emailed and was given several times to the Marlins Agreed. However, some of the categories, specifically in coaching philosophy and how they want coach, Moline coach wanted the feeder teams coached and all, was very similar to the way the Piranhas were being coached at that time. While this rubric was being worked on, created, and newly initiated. It was so similar to the way the Piranhas were running at the time that it seemed to have been copied and pasted, even with some of the out-of-town organizations' names still on the document sent to the Marlins about how they should run to be accepted into Moline's feeder program. So the strong-arming seems to have continued. There was communications between, now we're gonna go back more through timeline, but that was right on what we just ended with Audrey's question.
Just for a second.
By all means,
For a clarifying question. This is the rubric that all feeder programs have to use.
Correct.
that has been created since this last conversation took place. But yes, it is.
I was trying to.
I agree with that as well, not disputing that. So then the Marlins had the contract all the way through June 2nd of 2020. In that time frame, some other things happened. The pool was shut down and closed for a while due to a boiler. Nobody could get to it. So these emails of back and forth and the coaches responding was also part of, and what you failed to mention was in the timelines here. Also, nobody could be in the pool. And you're reaching out to, yes, coaches and some board, but nobody could be in the pool during that time. And we're looking that they weren't responding back quick enough for some things in there. Don't worry, I'll wrap back around. Then, where are we? Then COVID happened, and in the time frame of your emailing, which we're getting into your June dates, and saying that the coach never responded, you never got back from anyone, and don't worry, we're also going to get to, you documented that it's spam. That's interesting. So in that time frame, you were communicating fairly often with the Blue Marlins, and they had submitted an outline for the next season. They had done some of that, and the reply back was that you guys were working on pool availability and times and would get back to them. And they never heard back from that. And then they didn't hear anything about it either until, lo and behold, 18 months after this was first a conversation, they're back on the agenda again for some time, but not the Marlins this time, it was the pool, it was the Piranhas. Now, this board was promised back in the summer of 2019 for ongoing transparency, clarification, updates of processes along the way before making such a big transition. Well, this is the very first time we've heard of anything along. We got your update, we got that. But coming in and saying that we didn't know they existed, they disbanded. They weren't replying back after we had told them that we'll get back to you before anything else needs done. That was twice.
That's not true though. So you know it's not true.
That's fair, but we're working here.
Okay.
So with that, then comes January, where there's a lot of pages and notes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, if you got questions.
I don't
go
have a
ahead.
question, I'm gonna make a statement.
Okay,
There is obviously some major feeling on this still. If there is a Blue Marlin board president, then they please reach out to us. So there can be clarification.
I'm right here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I know, but can I?
During public comment, you can make a comment if you want to during public comment.
Oh my gosh, if Darren's gonna speak.
Oh, that's fine, you can keep interrupting me, I'm just trying to. Whatever. Keep going, Dustin.
I do think we have to probably wrap up the conversation. So
Yeah,
can we-
I understand.
know what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's fine, I'm really quick right now. So now, the feeder program that wants to be recognized as the only feeder program, and I guess we'll jump mostly to Christian, is the one with the exact philosophy, is the one coached by the high school coach who was the same as, who was accused of strong arming out, or at least it was felt that, and then were they accused of strong arming out the philosophy process, and the team of the Marlins who've been a feeder program and with us formally recognized since 72 for crying out loud. All of the feedback I've heard from the community in any way, shape, or form on this is not humongous, but it is all in favor of the Marlins continuing as well. And it is all, and as they're learning, I'm getting more and more detail about how the process is happening. And if we want to wrap to right at the end, I don't feel that what this board was promised and what the community was promised for transparency and working together is going on. I do see that this process has continued to verify what 2 years ago was given to us with info, and the only rebuttal we were given at the time was a commercial in public comment, no substance. And we're back in the same spot again on the opposite side.
Well,
I haven't asked a question.
I know, but I've been accused of strong arming and this other stuff, and I'm just saying, it's just, there's no strong arming. Our coach used to work in the Blue Marlins. It wasn't like he was strong arming out. When he was having problems with the Blue Marlins, he hadn't even started with the Promise yet. And when he started with the Promise, he goes, "This is what I want to do." So we gave him a list. Our head coach is the one that gives us a list and says, "These are the things I need," because I'm responsible for it when they come to high school level. So if I'm a basketball coach. I had a situation just like this. I started at Moline High School. Down the street was Carmel. I had half the kids that were at Carmel High School, and I was like, "Well, you can't be in our feeder organization because you're not coming to our high school." And I literally moved over, then Carmel started their own feeder organization and things like that. That was it. I was the head coach. I made the decisions on who was going to do what. Every one of our coaches has decided who was going to be their feeder organization. And if you remember that meeting, there were 3 people that talked. And one of them was, why don't we do both? Why can't it be both? Why can't, if this program isn't good enough or meeting the needs and this one does, why can't we do both? And it was decided that it can't. Okay, that's fine. And when we did this, we came with a criteria. They disagreed with the score, which is fine. We had the meeting. We gave a list of things that we needed to be done. They said they do them. I talked to him several times. He said, "We'll get back to you." I was never having any issue with any of that at all. And when their coach wasn't getting back to us, and then their coach is not coaching anymore, I'm not reaching out to everyone and anyone that I can find. But I'm saying is when it came that time, when we had that meeting and it was allowed, that was it. And so I said, before it's there, I looked on it and I went and we went online. I go, "How do we know this program is not around anymore?" And he said, "They got to be signed up with USA Swimming. Go to the website." And we went on a radius and they weren't signed up. They didn't have their website. The website that we had was older. And then some of the people who ran this program, kids were swimming in other programs, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. I'm just saying, as a athletic director, I want to move forward so our kids can get in the pool and swim. I have no allegiance to piranhas, to Lane 4, to Blue Marlins. I just want our kids to be in the pool. And when our coach wants it to be a certain program, and he's part of the program, I don't care. Sarah's part of the program for Platform Elite. It doesn't bother me if we can give them what they need to be successful. And that's all I'm looking for. I want skills training. I want things like this. I want kids having fun. I want kids coming back. I want competition. I want all of those things like that. But it has nothing to do, I have no ill will toward Blue Marlins or any organization. I'm just matter of fact, talking to a coach and saying, is this the program you want? Yes, no, and then we move forward. That's it.
Thank you,
We need to move
thank you
on.
for giving that information.
Yeah, we need to move on to the.
I do have some questions.
Two final things, Andy, real quick.
Okay.
First, I can lay to rest whether or not you found out that the Marlins have disbanded, because they haven't, because their board president happens to be in the room and they're fully active. So you did not document and find out they disbanded, as you put up there, but you did state that you made a decision that they had disbanded based on info of coaches who have moved around, not reaching out and finding from a board member, not emailing everyone you can think of, but a direct source. Do you exist or not?
Sure, but
Lastly,
what, can I ask you this? What
after I
program
finish-
is, what program is this kid
after-
signed up for?
Excuse me, after I finish.
What program is this kid signed up for?
We're not gonna do this, we're not. We need to.
I have a question.
My investigation on this will continue. My investigation is not satisfied that the above reproach process that our citizens are properly due has been the experience at hand. I will finish.
I'm a little slow, so you're gonna have to work with me here. Okay, this has nothing to do with the Blue Marlin, it's just questions about the feeder program. I don't know anything about it. The only sports I know is I coach with my living. It's knowledge on it. Do coaches that work for Moline School District, are they allowed to be paid by feeder programs? Do they have a financial incentive from those programs?
Can,
They can, but they don't choose.
no,
Okay, so here's, I guess, maybe this will tie back my question and concern to the Blue Marlin, Piranha, whatever, Sharks, whatever there are. Does our coach employed by the district, does he get a financial incentive from one of the feeder programs? You don't have to say which one, does he get a financial incentive from one of the feeder programs?
Like a kickback or a salary?
Like a salary?
salary,
Salary.
yeah, for a club,
So-
yes.
But he's not the only one. There are multiple coaches
No.
who receive salaries from
Mhm.
programs.
Okay, okay, coaches could get a salary from the feeder program.
Mhm.
But they're also the ones contributing to the decision whether that feeder program gets a financial incentive by no fees. You see what I'm getting at? I think there's an ethical question there
No, I see
that needs to be, that I think you guys, it's not my job to tell you how to run your program. We set the policy, you guys do. But I think that is something we need to look at, like if that's an ethical question that.
So we actually did discuss that in our committee. Because I too said, is there a concern about coaches working with other programs for that feeder status? But again, I think the whole point of the rubric and having the guidelines is to prevent future coaches from saying, oh, I'm done with that program, I want this one because I make an extra $500 off of it. It's penance, actually, the amount of time that they're earning, but
You can see where the appearance is.
absolutely, and that's why we had that discussion.
And when we talk about like coaching philosophy and stuff like that, like, that's not a like measurable.
I will just say that we will lose all feeder status if we do not allow coaches to work
Oh,
for
yeah.
other feeders.
Okay, I mean, I'm just curious.
I mean, I
can see
get
where that was the question that I got for a couple people that listened
I
to
think it's
the.
a completely legitimate question.
Audrey. So also just related to the process then, so 2 years from now, so it's the Piranhas, if they're the ones that have passed it, the Marlins is not at this point in time, so say it's Piranhas at this point in time. 2 years from now, does the head coach get to just look at the thing and if Piranhas continue to meet the standards, that's automatic, or can another feeder program present themselves? Is this only coach tapped feeder programs, or can it be other people coming back, like in the Blue Marlins, come back to be like, or any of the other, I mean, the 6 trillion other swimming programs in the 25-mile radius around here, come back to say, we'd like to be considered as the Moline feeder program. Please evaluate us based off of your rubric, because by that point in time, we know people, I no longer have a swimmer, but I know, and I did, that people were like, you know what I mean, in terms of teams that they bounced around to, and so where are those groups of swimmers might go based off of the whims of one parent, and then others follow, could change. So what is the process for that moving forward for any changes in feeder programs rather than just?
The past practice has been that once a feeder program, as Justin alluded to, for 40 years, always a feeder program regardless of any sort of evaluation of said program. That being said, I think that's a good question, but what happens when we have multiple feeder programs vying for the same space? And there's not any flexibility, it's different when you have a gym that can house a gazillion people, but it's not the same when you have a pool that's literally consumed most of the time by our own programs. That's where it becomes difficult.
Yeah, okay. I should know if there was that being considered about, because, and I know this is the first time or one of the first times that this sort of situation has arisen, but I think that's something to make sure there's some sort of process or procedure in place for re-entry into it, because who knows how long exactly a coach is around and where students end up. So, just putting that out.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the school spotlight of Logan Elementary.
Oh, good evening. My name is Tom Ferguson, the building principal at Logan Elementary School. And I first want to thank this board for everything you guys have done for our kids, for our teachers, our staff members, our families, all since almost a year ago now, which is just kind of mind-boggling to think back on. But the way that this board has navigated this pandemic has been impressive. It's been appreciated. We've had very positive parent feedback and input in our building. Dr. Savage joined our PTO meetings early in the year, and they continue to give us great feedback. But I really just appreciate what you guys have done. I thank you for all the decisions you've made and the way you've guided this district through everything that's been going on. So I am excited here tonight to be able to present what we have has been our tagline here for the last couple of years. So wins at Logan, celebrations of success, things that are going on at Logan Elementary School. It's always a vibrant place. I want to start out a little bit and kind of take us back about a year to right about this time. And in the 2019-2020 school year, we were just right now excited. We were taking a look at MAP scores and taking a look to see that about three quarters of our students were hitting their growth goals, which is something we're always striving for in the elementary buildings, our MAP scores and really promoting with kids. So again, about 3/4 of those kids were hitting their targets in reading and math. And 96% of our students were meeting that goal in at least one of those subjects. And so that was a huge win for us. You know, we've been, our school a couple of years ago, 18-19 was designated underperforming or now targeted school. So growth has been a huge thing for us in ELA and certainly in math as well. So we were very excited about that just about a year ago. At the same time, our ELL program, we've been, dare I say, blessed with a couple of staff members, our ELL Chai and Para, Fina and Fabi Nache, who have just done an outstanding job in our ELL program, from building relationships with students and families. People come in to seek them out, talk to them, help solve problems for them. But last year we had 19% of our ELL students reclassify on the access test. A benchmark we always kind of look for is about 10%. You can see the year before we were at 2%. That 2% was one student that reclassified. And really, I want to give them lots of credit as they've come in, established relationships with teachers, with students and families to really have a very impressive turnaround for our ELL program. And we're hoping to continue that. Through the pandemic, they've been meeting, they come into the building every day just to sit at their computers and meet with kids at home. And if they're kids that come on an A day or a B day, they meet with them on their offsite day, and they've just done an outstanding job. So that's kind of where we were about a year ago. And now again, these past couple of weeks, we've been finishing up MAP testing for this year. You can see a bit of a dip. 70% of our students hit their growth targets in at least one of those tests. Okay, and that's, from kids being disengaged last year, we can come up with a lot of factors, but we know that's where our staff, that's where our building is looking at right now, is that 26%. What can we do to get that back? And so one of the big things we come at that with is we want to make kids happy to be in school. We want kids to be safe and comfortable in school, and so that's where we're going to kind of focus some of this going on. We really want students to see themselves in our school, on the walls, see themselves in the classroom, see themselves in the library books and the materials that we have, And that's a big push that we're making so that we can close that gap. We can get back to that 96. We can get to 100% of our students meeting their growth goals. So a couple of things we've done in the last year. We set up a new student celebration wall. This acknowledges our students that make honor roll, that are recognized for their citizenship. And we just came up with a new award this year called our Lamp Leaders. So students in our specials, which I know have been very tough to engage with this year, but library, art, music, and PE, every month there's a nomination from those teachers. They get a certificate, they get their picture up on the wall. You can see, it's tough to see the pictures of pictures, but they love seeing themselves there. They love seeing their names up there. So that's a way that we really want to promote them being involved and giving great effort. So in-school celebrations, I mean, we're looking right now, obviously we want a strong finish to the year, we want a safe finish to the year, and kids to be successful, but we also know we need a big time game plan for next year. We can hopefully have 100% kids back in the building. How are we going to teach them and reach them to get them to where they need to go? So a couple of things spending wise that we're going through. We've already committed over $3,000 to diversity literacy materials for our library and for our classrooms, because we know, like I said, we want kids to see themselves in our school. Logan's become much more diverse than it used to be over the last number of years since elementary boundaries have changed. And, but that's just the nature of the beast with demographics. So we need to meet those kids and revamp some things that we have going on. So those kids are excited to be with us at Logan. Another thing we're doing is, we're a landlocked school. We don't have big grassy fields outside and all that kind of stuff. We have a blacktop. We love our blacktop. We love our playground, but we need more for that. The kids that go outside, they're not interested in doing foursquare or hopscotch or shooting a basketball. They need some more. And we already found that in talking to kids. You look at a kindergarten classroom at center time, they're playing, and kids love to be there. We want to make that happen all throughout. So we're investing right now a lot of money into some activities that we can get to kids out on the playground, so that going to recess at lunch or during the day is not something they're not looking forward to, but it's exciting. I get to go out and I get to build, I get to make something. I get to step away from one kind of curriculum with math or ELA, and I get to go and adventure and explore and design and create with something else at recess. And we want to make that recess time, not necessarily we're going to structure it like a class, but we want to make it exciting for them and engaging the same way we do it in our classrooms. So we're very excited again. It's going to require some storage facilities and that kind of thing, but some really neat opportunities for kids to enjoy themselves and explore out recess too. We've also had this year, and it hit at the right time as we were planning, a successful implementation of the Class Dojo messaging and motivation platform. Not sure if that's what they actually call it, but I thought it was appropriate for all of our Logan classrooms. And that started last year, even ahead of COVID. We put in a purchase. We purchased about 26 tablets for our teachers. It's been a huge win since COVID hit, and we're recording lessons. But that tablet, when we give the teachers the document cameras and the laptops to facilitate their classroom on projectors, we want something mobile for those teachers so they can be around, walking around their classroom, out in the halls, transitioning to lunch or even a bathroom break, where they can be motivating kids with positive points. They can be sharing pictures back at home with family members. And it's really been an awesome way. And I just checked the other day, we're connected with over 330 parents. I have parents who get a message when we can see that someone's translating those messages. Again, our ELL and family speaking other languages has really increased for us. So we're happy to see that we can get that communication out. Families are able to translate it comfortably on their end. And also the big thing about Class Dojo is that point system, that it's motivating for them. We see that they're on task. We see that they're working hard. I see kids, picking up trash in the breakfast room or in the cafeteria, opening doors for other kids. They need a dojo point and they need something there, and that goes right to the parent. The parent can see that right away. So that's been a real sell for us with the Class Dojo. And we also it gives us the opportunity to celebrate at home. When we got to the end of the first semester this year, we realized how much burden had fallen on the parents and the families. I've got a kindergartner myself and two younger ones, and my wife has taken on a lot of that. And we laugh about it and all this kind of stuff, but it's hard. And so we want to celebrate a lot of our students and let them, be excited and get that recognition in school. We knew that this year we need to recognize those parents too. So we printed out remote learning leader certificates for all of our parents. We mailed them out, we sent them home. And through Class Dojo, we asked all the parents to take a picture and to send it back. And we had a lot of parents respond and send some stuff back. They were excited, they were appreciative, it was fun. The kids were excited that their parents got a certificate with their parents' name on it. And it was just really neat. And I could probably spend all day on these slides, but just had to pick a select few because that was just really a neat experience. And the parents appreciated that. And again, making the parents feel comfortable with their kids' school was a big win for us. So going on a little bit into community connection celebrations, we've really been able to, in the last couple of years, establish some strong relationships with our Logan families. We have an excellent parent coordinator, Jane O'Brien, that's done some outstanding work, and many things you'll see here are a result of her work, and also support from this district and our Logan PTO, the state of our families, to improve the environment and experiences for our students both now and moving forward. So one grant, again, I give credit to Jane O'Brien on these things that she's been working with us and reaching out, working with us to see what kind of needs we have to engage kids outside of school and in school. But working with the Moline Foundation coming up this spring, we just finalized some of the signage. We're going to install 16 interchangeable outdoor frames where we can print out pages of books. We're going to get our librarians working on getting some agreements with publishers. So we can get with approval, print out some pages of books on our poster printer and put them up in the frame so the kids, as they're walking along our fence, can go along and follow a story. You know, and read something from beginning to end and walk around on 16 different frames around the playground. That's going to be really fun for kids to see. Again, this was a pre-COVID effort that couldn't have hit at a better time, and the demand for chilled water bottle fillers went through the roof. And touchless water fountains was an essential. Logan was ahead of the game. The Two Rivers Rotary sponsored 2 of them. The district picked up the 3rd one for us for our upstairs. And so we were very excited to have a connection with them. Again, hit the right time, and our PTO sponsored water bottles for all the kids at the beginning of the year. So we have 3 chilled water bottle fillers in our building. That is just a monster win to start the year. I think you guys saw a little bit on this project at a previous meeting, but again, the JC's organization of the Quad Cities contributing over $10,000 to revamp some of our, it's our green space. Sometimes we refer to it as the dirt patch outside, but to create a new outdoor learning area with wood benches, astroturf, and then to put in some new sod and some new stuff for our kids. Again, so when kids go outside and they're not engaged by the jungle gym or by basketball, by something, they want to sit and read a book. That there's going to be some shade over there, they can sit and enjoy that, and something that really relates to them. And then also for classes that want to go outside, we can probably, I think we decided we can see about 26 kids on the benches. So if kids want to go outside and just take a break on a nice afternoon, we're going to have a great new area for them to do that. And then also, this was a really neat effort that we put together. It was actually supposed to happen through our parent mentors last year. They had set it up for April, and with the closure, we weren't able to do it, but we engaged the services of a local author, Shelley Moore Guy, who wrote the story, How Billy Learned How to Play, a story of a jazz musician who grew up in East Moline, learned ham-bone. You guys know ham-bone, you can engage a little less if you want, or a music teacher, she's much better at it. But learned ham-bone from his Uncle Ferdinand and went on to play in jazz concerts and really became a successful musician. So Shelley Moore Guy wrote this story with help of a local artist, an illustrator, Marshall Pass, who's from Rock Island. He works in Davenport schools now. But when we weren't able to have the presentation in April, at a big school assembly in Havard, she is such an engaging speaker. It would have been really cool. But she recorded the story for us. She came in and recorded some videos for us, a little bit about the background of the story. She then talked, then she read the story for the kids. We had about 3 or 4 staff members in the backgrounds doing different musical sounds, which was very fun, boom booms and bop bops. It was a great time. And then the local author went on to create some custom drawing pages. So we wanted to push this out right at the end of January as Black History Month was coming around, and we really want to recognize local things going on, and again, let kids see themselves in our school and in the success that can be had. And so we sent out the videos, we sent out some multicultural crayons that our PTO purchased, 1 pack for every kid in the school, sent those out to even our remote learners and to our in-person learners, so that as they watch this story, they could color along. And so there were some fun pictures, again, thank you to some of our new communication tools that were able to come in. Kids had a lot of fun coloring those in and sending them back. And our art teacher and our music teacher and our librarian all piggybacked off when we rolled this out with some fun lessons in their classrooms as well. So one final one, an upcoming community connection we were very excited about. Aisha Pratt-Lear was a Moline grad not too long ago, and she is now an Olympic steeplechase runner, very successful. She's placed as high as 2nd in the World Championships. And with a local connection, we were able to get in contact with her. And next Thursday, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Savage, I'm going to be late to our admin meeting. I apologize.
Okay, okay.
But we set up a Google Meet with her. And so we've got a select group of 4th and 5th grade girls that have participated in the Girls on the Run program that are going to meet. They're going to talk with her via Google Meet. They're going to ask her some interview questions and get to know a little bit about her, which is just super cool. She's training right now. She runs for the Jamaican World Team and is planning to participate in the Olympics. She does have an Under Armour commercial out too. So if you see it, that middle picture there is a part from her Under Armour commercial. And I had to laugh when I first caught the name. We were sitting at home, my wife and I, and my wife was a Moline grad, and she mentioned how, oh yeah, she went to a dance with my brother. And so I was like, well, that's cool. Now she's in an Under Armour commercial. How can we make this connection? So that's going to be pretty cool. We're pretty excited about that opportunity for our girls next week. So, some other things that are going on, again, regardless of circumstance, some wins we're still finding right now. All our full remote learners, we had about 124 to start the year. Almost half of those are already back in the building. We've put out a little bit of a feeler to parents to see who, based on 4th quarter plans, who intends to return. Again, once those get finalized, and again, we have about 70% of our full remote students who are planning to return to in-person learning, pending whatever those plans look like. And so most of all, and I'll just scroll through some of the rest of the pictures here, our students and our staff are happy to be at school. They are happy to be there. They're wearing their masks. The teachers, Julia Laird has been in our building about 2,000 years. And when I went around and started talking to teachers about, hey, are you comfortable? You have 17 in-person learners about to return. Can we space the desks? Are you comfortable with this? Have that individual conversation. She said, Tom, absolutely. And if anyone else isn't, put them in my class. And that's just, that's resonating throughout our building. Again, our teachers are excited, our kids are happy. So I had to go around last week, take some pictures. Lots of kids just excited to be there. They're excited to see more kids in their class. They're excited to be with their teachers. They're excited to have some routine and structure for the day. I know the parents are as well. And so, things are just kind of clicking along. We're excited for the return of more students. We're excited for more time in the day to be with them. And, we're just excited about all the wins going on at Logan. So to the Moline School Board, thank you very much for the opportunity to share our wins at Logan. And thank you guys for all that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Is there a question?
Yeah. Thank you very much for wading through in that presentation.
Yeah,
And the changes that you shared that you made before COVID and adjusted through COVID and made for the kids to come back to and find that you're progressing with as things go a little bit. The excitement that you're hoping the kids, that you see at school, you hope the kids take home, the excitement the parents you hope have.
Yeah.
I live in the Logan district.
yeah,
I have lots of little kids run up and down our street, and our elementary student plays with them regularly.
Yeah.
That excitement is absolutely heading home.
Good.
And if they're loving it, they're loving all of it, they're excited, they're happy, and I've heard nothing but great feedback.
Well, that's awesome. We're excited to hear that. When we know, the biggest thing for us, we want to create that school to home connection. So that when kids go home, they don't drop the bag on the floor and forget everything they may have learned, for the day, whatever lessons or experience they may have had. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's what we're striving for.
Before COVID pushed everybody out, because we're talking excited about what was going on then.
Good.
Come back, they're excited about these new ones.
Awesome.
Very happy to hear.
All right, wins at Logan. That's what you say right there. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. So now we need a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? We'll start shortly. It's just the intention.
Good. Yeah, I'll pass that along.
I'm coming. call this meeting to order.
There you go.
I'm sorry, it is. Yes. Call this meeting of the Board of Education on March 8th to order at the regular meeting to order at 7:07 PM in the Coolidge Professional Development Room. Roll call, please.
Audrey Adamson. Here. Justin Anderson.
Present?
Sangeetha Rayapati.
Present.
Kate Schaefer. Here. Maria Estragaros.
Here.
Andrew Ware.
Here.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Items of business are approval of minutes. We have motion to approve the minutes of the open session of the regular Board of Education meeting of February 22nd, 2021. So moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Next item is a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the regular Board of Education meeting, February 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, yes, that was right.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing none, that motion passes. All right, we do have public comment tonight. We'll allow Graham Gustafson to speak. We'll give a 5-minute time limit.
Thank you, ma'am. I didn't come here to fight for a swim club that's been around for 40 years. Because I think I shouldn't have to fight for something that should be given and worked with together for the kids in this community. And COVID hit, and well, before that, actually, we did submit a rubric. We submitted 5 documents all at the same time. We submitted a roster, we submitted addresses, we submitted a philosophy, we submitted a whole bunch of stuff. And emails went back and forth and said, yep, looks good, change this with this. Great. Then COVID hit, and the last email I got was on July 9th that said, I'll let you know if anything changes, from Coach Michael Roach. So I've been waiting for anything to change. And 3 weeks ago, something changed. So I just want the facts out there because I don't like being lied about. I won't stand for it. I'm here to get our kids in the water, and if it's with the Moline piranhas, that's fine. My daughter swims for another club because I waited 6 months for Illinois to open back up so I could get her swimming. I waited as long as I felt correct, and I moved her to Bendorf, where she took, I don't know, 7th place 2 weeks ago in the entire state as a 12-year-old girl. And I'm pretty damn proud of her for the work that she puts in. And I'm trying my hardest not to make this affect her for when she does go to Moline, because she wants nothing more to swim for Moline. And I'm gonna support her in that no matter what. My goal, when I was supposed to be contacted, was to attempt to work with Moline and a new leadership for Moline Blue Marlins as a transition, but that never happened. So this is where we're at. I want nothing more than to have our children have a pool to swim in. And I know that we have one pool in this in this area, one. And it's hard to fit everybody in, so whatever's decided, I'm fine with, but I just want it known that this was not anything that we did or did not do because we jumped through every hoop that was put in front of us. And we responded accordingly. I can't control where my coaches go if they don't have a job. I can't control where our swimmers go when they don't have a swim team to swim on for a year. I was hoping that they would come back once this blew over, but I guess we'll find out if they want to swim for the Moline Piranhas. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we did have an email submission that I need to read. This is from Amy Wren, who has spoken to us previously. With the community numbers so low, mitigations in place, successful reintegration of students at our schools, can we please start the discussion of returning our students back to full time? Our students are struggling academically, mentally, and socially. What could be more important to talk about tonight than returning our students to school? Our kids and parents have done everything we have asked of them. Now it is the board's turn to return these kids to full-time learning. I ask that the school board president step up and lead us to what is best for the students, an option for full-time in-person learning. So that is our public comment. And we move to the consent agenda, which there are several items to pull. So please note that. The first portion, as you're looking through your materials, I think I can say this, it's A through F, H through N, and P through U, but I will read the whole motion as intended. So it's a recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda items A through F, H through N, and P through U as presented. So moved. Second. Second from Audrey. Roll call, Wendy. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer.
Aye.
Sangeetha Ryan Putty.
Aye. On the next item, we have to amend this motion. The motion is that we approve, the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item G, removing Desmond Landeros. So as amended. Roll call, please.
Andrew Ware.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Sangeetha Ryan Putty.
Aye. Next item is related to O. It's a recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item O, number 1, as presented. Motion.
Ask the question. This particular.
Hang on, I know don't we need to deal with the tabling first?
Yeah.
We do. Yes. So, but we need to take a vote to table.
It's,
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have
Yes,
to.
once
motion
you've
second,
seconded.
It's officially taken.
Okay,
Then my question is not valid at this time.
yeah, and it now isn't the time, we can't. We have to be in a discussion format to do it.
There
Okay,
was a clarification on the vote itself. But it's
well, we
able
can
to-
go back and deal with that
That's okay.
through agenda setting for the next. Okay, So we move on to last items. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item O, numbers 2 and 3 as presented.
So moved.
You got a second, Stephanie?
Let's have you say Maria and Audrey.
All right, roll call, please.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer,
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Andrew Ware,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Sangeetha Ramapudi.
Aye. Okay. So the next item. Number 6, the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with Blackhawk College to provide college math course placement upon successful completion of the Moline High School math literacy course.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Kate Schaefer,
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Andrew Ware,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson, Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Sangeetha Ramapudi.
Aye. Okay, we move to superintendent's report.
Okay, talking about return to learn first, we closed out our survey a week ago. We had just under 2,000 responses from our stakeholders. This is in regards to our final planning for fourth quarter. We do have parent communication that we are finalizing that will go out likely this Wednesday. So parents will get sort of a final notification of what the fourth quarter schedule is going to look like. And hopefully barring some major significant shift in the pandemic, these should be our final set of changes for the year. And that's kind of exciting to be at that point where we're making the last set of changes. We had some great parent feedback and we're really appreciative for their assistance in guiding us through these difficult decisions. For this week and next week, we will continue with our elementary students attending 4 days per week, Monday through Thursday. And we will have our final 2 full remote Fridays coming up this Friday, the 12th, and the next Friday, the 19th. Then we go into spring break. That is the week of March 22nd. After that starts fourth quarter, and we will be able to implement our final set of changes. As you have heard last time, over 90% of our parents that are sending their kids to school wanted more. They wanted more in-person learning. And so the schedule that we're putting forth is really a balance of giving the, quite frankly, the majority of our parents that are sending their kids, giving them more in-person learning, but also keeping that element of choice for our parents that still want to keep their children home in full-time remote. And then that third piece of safety really keeps us in a less than full day schedule. We've got lunch there you know, with the majority of students attending in person and only allowing 50 students in the cafeteria at a time. Our larger schools, lunchtime would just be far too unsafe. Not to mention, I think we did some quick number crunching at the high school. That Moline High School has 1,600 in-person kids. I think that would be the equivalent of 32 lunches. So until we get a relaxation on that rule, and we certainly understand the safety piece and don't want to, you know, push that, but when that rule becomes relaxed, then that can help us be able to extend our day longer. Moreover, we still have 2,000 students, over 2,000 students choosing full-time remote learning. It's still at 25%. The survey indicates it should come down about 10%, down to about 15% at fourth quarter. So that's what we're projecting. But really, that's just based on survey feedback. Our principals will really be the ones to see how many of those kids are going to stay in full-time remote. That being said, for fourth quarter, we'll be able to open our doors for in-person learning kids Monday through Friday. So that's a big jump going from 2 days to 4 days. I like that sort of incremental increase, focusing on our younger elementary learners first, getting them acclimated. And as you heard Principal Ferguson tonight, Principal Landon last time, you know, those principals are doing a fantastic job, and the teachers, quite frankly, have just been amazing, welcoming those students back, figuring out the spacing and
kind of relearning everything like the first day of school all over again. It's gone really well. I'm so proud of them. And being able to onboard our secondary, Dr. DeBane has been working with our middle school principals and high school principals in classrooms, tape measures. I think you guys were in there with the tape measure today. Just all hands on deck trying to figure this out so our kids can be in school. We know that's what our community wants, and to be able to be at this point is a good feeling. The public comment is correct. Our positivity rates are below 3%, not only in Rock Island County, but also in our region, which spans Peoria, quite a big geographical location. So having a solution and a plan that rounds out our school year that is the best shot at really trying to please as many people as possible by letting people have their choice. So students fourth quarter will be able to come Monday through Friday. We still will have that midday dismissal. And I know not everybody understands that. And I know we have a lot of parents that still want more, as do I. And quite frankly, I really am looking forward to us getting to that point. But right now, with 25% of our students in full-time remote, and with the logistics around lunch for about half of our schools, right now it's the safest choice by keeping that midday dismissal and offering afternoon programming for those students that need additional skill recovery, credit recovery, small group intervention, and things of that nature.
So just to clarify though, it's not just the safety, because we know that that's debated by some in our community about eating at the school, right? Not everybody has a concern that it's unsafe. It's actually that we cannot physically put more than 50 people in a space.
Right.
And we don't have enough spaces to facilitate the logistics of lunchtime for the size schools we have.
Right, because it's not just.
If we had a very small school, you could make sure everybody could stay for lunch, you could be full time. But because the school populations are so low, so that's really the answer to the question.
That is, and it's also, you know, you could use classrooms in different spaces, but to have the equipment to keep food at temperature as it needs to be in all of those locations also poses those challenges.
Also then supervision, because you split up the kids, there's fewer people.
Yes.
There aren't enough people for supervision during the lunch.
No, we'd be serving lunch the entire time of our
yeah.
school.
The personnel issue too.
Right, so it's multifaceted, but at least getting us from 2 days to 5 days is a huge jump for families, the majority of our families that are wanting that. And keeping the dismissal times the same. I've also heard a lot of feedback about the importance of that, and they've gotten in a routine, they've gotten their pickup schedules and things like that. So this is really just sort of the best of giving all of our stakeholders some of what they're looking for and what their expectations are for our district as we round out the school year. So benefits to the schedule include no changes to lunches. We still will offer the grab and go for kids as they leave and offer hot lunch for the kids that want to stay. And I know principals at the elementary level are seeing more and more kids stay for hot lunch. That is the goal, for us to be able to feed more kids in school. So that's been really exciting. No change to elementary specials, which we know was a big challenge to navigate because we share those teachers across our buildings. So that schedule will be maintained the same, and also keeping those same dismissal times allows for some sense of continuity for our parents. Lastly, as I just kind of round this piece out, you know, it's safety, it's choice, it's allowing our parents to have what they need for the remainder of the school year. So we're finalizing parent communication that should go out probably Wednesday. And like I said, hopefully these are our last set of changes for the year. And then the other comment that I had was we do have a lunchtime community conversation coming up this Thursday from 12 to 1. Again, virtual. These have been just fantastic opportunities to engage directly with parents and teachers, and we've had grandparents, we've had kids, we've had a lot of people hop on. So always look forward to that. Just invite everybody to hop on at that time.
Probably, thank you for clarifying, we're still under the restrictions of people in space. Are we also still required as we move forward to offer full remote through the remainder of the school year?
We are. That is per the State Department of Ed. I've not heard of any relaxation for that, but certainly that's something that we'll be watching for.
And with that jump prepared, go 2 to 5 days and operate that method with the restrictions that we're required to operate under. As a very, sometimes vocal, sometimes not, but never apologetic critic of the process of personal feeling and feedback of slowness, or we could do more, we could do more. Well done, and thank you.
Appreciate that. Group effort, for sure. And it's what our community wants.
That is I agree, that is maximizing the in-person abilities that we have with the space and the requirements that we don't have any choice within. We're operating the fullest within the parameters that we have to operate. Thank you.
There's something that needs to be noted as well. Teachers are still need their contract prep time, so we are obligated to give that to them throughout this year, and they still have to have time to reach out to their online students. So I just want the community to understand that there are bigger things they may not, be aware of. That we are obligated to make sure we are billing to our teachers and to our online students.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else for discussion?
Oh, I have a discussion.
Okay.
My first one is I'm mad, and I'm calling on our board norms we created as a group. That when someone is speaking, we do not interrupt them. I've been interrupted several times tonight. This is not as professional as I could keep it. I'm calling out our board norms.
Okay, thank you for the reminder. We do, and also sitting here, I forgot I wasn't actually in charge of this meeting, and if you were, I mean, the community as a whole. So I apologize for that as well, because I know I was starting to call on people, but that was really your job. So. But yeah, we do need to continue to follow this. Can we discuss the plan thing now or that? It's open for board discussion.
I just want to say why I tabled it. I just did not, after all of the discussion that went down, and then after hearing our community speaker, I just am not comfortable immediately going on it. I'm not anti-Corona, I'm not anti-Marlin, I just don't feel good voting after hearing all of that. I feel like that is not a good decision. I'd like to be able to think on it. I'd like to just don't feel good about the snap vote.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't think it was the right time to do it. The discussion got a little out of hand. I think it was a little disrespectful on both sides. So I think we need to circle back to the board norms. And think about those when we're interacting with each other, the speakers, and questions. So.
It's with that, then where do we go in terms of that vote? And I'm either for or against or whatever, but eventually we have to vote and we have some discrepancies, I guess, in the information that we heard, whether or not we just each have to work on that on our own and decide how we're voting, or if there's more information we can get. We can have the fact that somebody's saying that they turned in everything, somebody's saying it wasn't, and then we're, to make sure that we have the most accurate information if we have some discrepancies out there in communication, things that happen, and like where that comes from, and maybe have some different views, but I think, yeah, that's troublesome. We want to make sure, and even if that communication gets clarified, I don't know whether or not, this might be something we'd have to figure out is, are the Blue Marlins in any, based off what they were previously compared to what their status is now to meet those needs, a big feeder program versus how that rubric can be applied. So that makes sense. I think.
If any of you individually would reach out, just letting me know the either specific questions you would like me to research and bring back, or if you'd like an additional presentation on what information you would like, just so we can have everything that we need at the next meeting. Just feel free to reach out to me, and I can make sure that I gather the appropriate information or prepare whatever those next steps might be.
Thank you very much.
As far as when to bring back that particular. The question that I was unable to ask earlier because it's my fault, I didn't work on it, was a parliamentarian point of order question, which If I had presented it properly, I would have been able to ask them like that. But it was to clarify that that vote was only to let the kids on the one thing we can identify right now in the pool for those dates. And did not condone, approve, move anything out of any other part of any other discussion, but allow them in that pool for those dates. And then by tabling it, when do we, for those dates, whoever's gonna get in the pool, to be properly practiced and prepared. What is our deadline to give them a thumbs up or thumbs down so they can get in the water and be prepared? Because well, we have a lot to figure out, and somewhere in here is some very big dishonesty and some very big just corrupt impropriety somewhere. Don't know where yet, fine, I will, don't worry. But it's somewhere, but we don't need to hold the kids back when we've learned some of this other information that we have, that is the bigger discussion that we're touching on. So, but as far as kids water only, what do we need to do?
Well, if those dates are starting in May, then we should be voting on this in April.
I believe they were ready to be in the pool at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And now the next meeting
Yeah.
is on April
Right.
12th.
Yeah,
I think
that's
the date
actually
was
correct.
March 9th.
So I'm sorry, I thought it was May.
I guess my concern is that we table it, I'm sorry.
Dates were presented for May through July,
Oh, that's what I'm.
March
but is it March? Okay.
March 9th.
So I don't want our bigger discussion that needs to be had and continue to keep kids out of the water and from participating in their activity they need to be in. So other than that, the timing, as soon as we can bring that boat back to get them in the water, I think we should, but I'm not familiar with what that is.
Oh, yes, that's, I was saying is that, I mean, I think those two things are tied, because I don't understand what the split with that is, that us voting to have them use the pool, is that also saying, yes, definitely, they are the feeder partner, because that's already been determined for the rubric, I guess, so to make sure we're clarifying is what we're.
I think it ties into your first question too,
Yeah.
that you asked.
Yeah, so, and then, yeah, I don't want to come back and then be like, oh, there's still all of these unanswered things, and then we table it based off of, you know, a lot that has to do with the situation. I'll make sure we have some very clear things of what is the information that we need to have, I guess, from you or from
So
outside
it's not-
sources.
It's not as much as these current students not being able to swim as it is the clarification of who is in fact the feeder. I think is what you were asking, right?
Yeah, I guess the vote is on them using the pool, right? It's them using the pool as the feeder. So it's by us voting on that, is that saying, yes, they are the feeder, or is that automatic right now that they're the feeder because of the rubric already, you know what I mean, like.
I believe because I moved past that particular item on the agenda, but if you're doing it without a charge, that's, they are. the-
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm
So,
saying.
so it's all in one, it's you get the pool for this time and you're the feeder.
That's what I wanted to make sure that.
Thank you for clarification.
I have a request if possible. Never am I anyone to criticize anyone for having a passionate opinion because the board is all that me. But, stop it. But what I would like to do on this topic is there is obviously passionate feelings that I think are clouding facts. Would really like for us to ask our questions to Dr. Savage, Sanders, or Mr. Canard, get what we're looking for, and for us to focus on that. And the rest of it, I think, is something that needs to be left to the side. Because it's not our job to figure out this angry, like, I feel like we're being bogged down in that. And my goal is for kids to swim or play volleyball or whatever it is. And I want to make sure we're not getting this board is getting meshed in something else. So I'm asking for that.
Too, because my main concern is when
when are these kids gonna be able to swim? As it is, they haven't been able to swim for the longest time. And then if we keep waiting and waiting, I have many questions and I will get back to them with you. So will I. And
So you'll just send me your
that's-
individual questions by email?
Yeah, and that's not in any way doing business, outside of the meeting. That's doing the normal board work that we ask, and since you brought up board agreement, getting our information ahead of time, speaking with Dr. Savage. That is the process for this item moving forward. Get your information, it will come back, we'll vote, and the kids will have an answer.
And it's appropriate to email our athletic director question.
We're allowed to do that according to our agreements as long as Dr. Savage is copied.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I think we copy you as well, board president and
You can go back to the board agreements for double checking, but for sure you need to copy Dr. Savage.
If there's things that you want, information you want me to collect and gather and bring back, just make sure you let me know. But certainly if it's just a quick one and done clarification, then Principal Sanders or Mr. Kennard would be the direct resource for that.
And our goal be that this is decided April 12th, so kids are in the pool. Like, this is, there's the deadline where
Yeah, we need to. There needs to be that clarity. Anything else under board discussion? Okay, and we need to move to a motion for closed session to consider collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. All in favor?
Aye. Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer. Aye. Sangeeta Rayapati.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.
Everybody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned.